Welcome back to your darkest day. I'm glad to have you back. If you enjoy these kinds of videos, please like, subscribe, and comment. Without further ado, grab your favorite teddy as we jump right in. Something watches our family. At 16 years old, my cousin on my dad's side visited me and my dad. We hadn't seen him in years, but my dad wanted him to work on a construction job in downtown Atlanta. He declined because he already had a job as a truck driver. My dad then asked if he would like to stay for dinner, and he said, "All right." My stepmom went to get groceries for dinner, and my dad, my cousin, and I sat and watched TV. After my stepmom got back from grocery shopping, she remembered she had forgotten an ingredient. She asked my cousin to go back to the store and grab it. I asked if I could go with him, and he said yes. As we were coming back from the grocery store, I told him something that I had kept to myself for about a week. I told him that I would sneak downstairs at night to play my PlayStation. While I was playing, I would suddenly get the urge that someone was watching me from behind. I never kept my back facing an open area, and whenever I would turn around, I would see a dark shadow figure standing in the back. It scared the living hell out of me, so I would turn on all the lights, almost blowing my cover for sneaking downstairs at night. And not only that, but my little brother's potty training toy would go off late at night while I was downstairs. The toy only goes off whenever he pees or poops. It has a metal sensor that presses down and activates. But when I would check the bathroom, the potty would be completely empty. I would get scared, pack up my game, and go back upstairs. But the night after that was the one that scared me the most. As I continued telling my cousin what happened, I explained that the next night truly made me believe something strange was going on. I went to school as usual, got home, did my normal routine, and just relaxed. Everything was completely normal, but that night I couldn't sleep. Something was keeping me awake. When I finally fell asleep, I woke up around 2 a.m. I still remember it like it was yesterday, and I will never forget the fear that ran through my body that night. When I woke up, I felt it again. Someone watching me. And no, it wasn't my dad or my little brother. It felt like a tall figure watching me. I don't know who, I don't know what, but all I knew was that if I had turned and looked at that figure, I don't know what would have happened. I might sound a little dramatic, but keep in mind I was 16. I was laying on my left side with the sheet pulled up to my shoulder, my eyes wide open, not blinking. Then, all of a sudden, I felt pressure on my bed. You know when your parents lean on the bed to talk to you and you roll backwards a little? It felt just like that, but it wasn't sudden. It was slow and soft. The only thing going through my mind was that whatever this was knew I was awake and it wanted me to look at it. So instead of looking, I decided to pull the blanket over my head. My eyes were still wide open under the blanket, and whatever it was kept pushing down further and further to the point where I was halfway on my left shoulder blade. I don't want to sound dramatic, but the blanket I was using had a tiny hole in it. I took a small peek with my eyes half open, and there was a black figure standing over me. My dad's house had a floodlight in the backyard, and it was on. I think a squirrel had run past it, so it had been triggered. The light was shining through my bedroom window, not too bright, just a dim glow. My room was still dark, but you could clearly tell there was light outside reflecting on the ceiling. But when I looked through that tiny hole in my blanket, I couldn't see the ceiling. Whatever it was completely blocking it. I shut my eyes tight and tried to go back to sleep. Luckily, after a couple of minutes, I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning sweating. I didn't tell my dad because he had alarms on the house and none of them went off. When I told my cousin this, he slowed the car down and looked at me. He said that it didn't sound too far off from what some of my other cousins had told him. That's when he told me something that stuck with me. He said he thinks there's something watching over our family. He doesn't know if it's good, he doesn't know if it's bad. He just knows that other family members have told him similar stories.
And I'm not going to give a cheesy ending like he said not to look at it or anything like that. All he said was, be careful. Don't taunt it, don't make fun of it, and don't speak to it directly. Just ignore it.
Don't go downstairs. My first encounter. At 6 years old in my grandparents' house by the creek. I've never told anyone this besides my immediate family because honestly, who would believe a 6-year-old? But I'm grown now, and I can still hear the sounds. Before I start this story, I just want to say everything that happened to me is real. Some of this crazy encounter is blurred. I can't recall the exact things that happened, but I do remember that it was traumatic for me as a 6-year-old, something no one would believe. It was like any other day. I was about 6 and at home. I was sick or something. I don't really remember. My mom had to run errands, so she left me with my grandfather. My grandparents used to live in this old house by a creek. If you've ever been in a big old house next to a creek, you know the vibe. I always felt someone was watching me. My grandfather was lying down in his room, and I was sitting on the bed playing. Before he fell asleep, he looked at me and said one thing, "Don't go downstairs to the basement." I said okay. The house had a massive basement that was almost like a second home. My uncle used to live down there. It had 2 entrances, one through the kitchen inside and one through a side passage outside. Eventually, I got thirsty. I did not want to wake my grandfather up, so I went into the kitchen for water. While I was in the kitchen, I heard a sound in the distance. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Someone was sweeping the concrete floor in the basement. I could also hear a low, steady whistling. It sounded exactly like my uncle. My uncle used to whistle while cleaning, so I thought, he's home. I knew he had one of those old-fashioned yellow straw brooms. I opened the outside basement door and called out, "Uncle, are you there?" The whistling didn't stop. The sweeping didn't stop. Scritch, scritch. I made my way down the stairs. Halfway down, I called for my uncle again. No answer. Nothing stopped, neither the sweeping nor the whistling. So I continued walking. I entered the basement and said, "Uncle." The sounds got louder. The whistling was as clear as day. But the moment my foot hit the basement floor, silence. The whistling vanished. The sweeping stopped instantly. "Uncle?" I whispered. "Are you here?" The air turned ice cold. I turned toward the corner where the noise had been coming from. There sat the yellow broom, leaning against the wall, perfectly still. There was nobody there. The dust on the floor didn't even look disturbed. I didn't wait a second longer. I bolted up those stairs, slammed the door, and dived back into bed next to my sleeping grandfather. I didn't move until my mom came back. I never told anyone this, not even the uncle I love dearly. I thought it was all in my head, so I brushed it off. But no, somehow it was like I opened a door that I couldn't close. For years after, I was tormented by ghost apparitions, sounds, and marks on my body that I couldn't explain. It wasn't until years later that I learned how to shut it off and stop being scared. I will definitely continue to share my ghost stories on occasion. Something was standing in the middle of the highway at 2 a.m. This happened about 8 months ago, and I still think about it every time I drive late at night. I was coming back from a friend's place in another city, and it was already past 2 a.m., so the highway was basically empty except for the occasional truck. I actually like driving at that hour because it's quiet and there's no traffic stress, so I had music playing low and was just cruising along, not really thinking about anything. I remember I was on a long, straight stretch of road with no streetlights, just my headlights and darkness on both sides, when I noticed something far ahead in my lane.
At first, I thought it was a road sign, or maybe a cardboard box that fell off a truck, because it wasn't moving at all. But as I got closer, my headlights started to light it up more clearly, and I realized it wasn't an object. It was shaped like a person, standing right in the middle of the highway. I immediately slowed down, because obviously that didn't make sense. There were no nearby cars, no broken down vehicles, nothing that would explain why someone would just be standing there at that time of night. The closer I got, the more uneasy I felt, like my brain was trying to warn me before I fully understood what I was seeing. The figure looked tall and thin, and it wasn't trying to wave me down or move out of the way. It was just standing there, facing my direction, completely still. I remember thinking maybe it was drunk or injured, so I slowed almost to a stop about 20 or 30 feet away. My headlights were fully on it now, and that's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. It wasn't reacting to the light at all. Most people would shield their eyes or step aside, but it didn't move even slightly. It just stood there. I leaned forward a little over my steering wheel, trying to see its face, and I swear I couldn't make out any features. Not like it was dark. I mean, it literally looked blank, like the light wasn't reflecting off a face at all.
Right when I was trying to figure out what I was looking at, it suddenly took one slow step toward my car. Not a stumble, not a normal walk, just one deliberate step. That was enough for me. I didn't wait to see anything else. I hit the gas and swerved around it, and as I passed, I glanced to the side for half a second. There was nothing there. No person beside my window, no shadow behind me, nothing in the mirror when I checked. It was just empty road again, like it had never been there. I actually pulled over about a minute later because my hands were shaking so bad I couldn't hold the steering wheel steady. I kept replaying it in my head, trying to come up with a logical explanation, but nothing made sense. If it was a person, where did they go in those 2 seconds? There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, just flat roadside and open ground. I eventually convinced myself I was tired and imagined it, but the thing is, I wasn't sleepy at all before that moment, and what still bothers me the most isn't that something was standing there, it's that whatever it was waited until I got close to move.
There is something not human out there. I was about 9 years old, living in Suriname. At the time, and probably still rings true today, is a poor country with one major city, and the rest of the area is very rural. We lived in one of those rural areas. Can't even call it a town, with our closest neighbor in front of our house, and the next neighbor is miles away. We also live next to the rainforest, and there is no reason for anyone to drive by our area. There is nothing but a dirt road and bushes and trees all around us. We also didn't have TV or any entertainment at the house. My siblings and I would spend our free time reading books, playing with toys, or ride our bikes. And for years, it remained that way. A quiet place with little to no visitors. One day, I saw something that changed everything for me. Background about me. I always had experiences with ghosts as a kid, and still do rarely as an adult. I don't seek them out. I had my hair pulled, legs scratched, words whispered to me when no one is around. I just get used to it, and these are rare occurrences, so I don't think about it much. Back to the story. I was watching the yard dogs play when I saw a white male jogging past our house on the dirt road. The dirt road leads to a dead end. I have never seen this person before. My neighbors are Indian, and they lived alone. I asked my mom about that man. She didn't see him and didn't know who I was talking about. He was wearing jogging clothes, I remember. He had shorts on. The dogs are guard dogs, but they did not bark or notice him. I couldn't see his face. I didn't think much about him until a few days later, I saw him again, jogging on the dirt road passing the house. I immediately ran to my bike and decided to follow him. Again, Dogs were quiet for some reason. I don't know why I followed him. It wasn't curiosity. I didn't tell my mom or anyone, which I usually do. I just left with my bike, going slowly behind him, probably about 12 feet away or so.
I didn't hear any footsteps. When you run in the dirt road, you would hear something. Gravel, dirt, something. I didn't hear anything. He didn't turn around. He didn't acknowledge me, even though I was obviously behind him, following closely. I should have turned back. What was wrong with me? I couldn't stop myself. Something tells me to keep following him. We both said nothing to each other. We made it to the dead end of the dirt road. He keeps running, into the grass and straight towards the trees. The grass is tall, about mid-thigh to hip height. No sounds, no rustling. The grass barely bends around him, trampling through the grass. He kept going. I got off my bike. As I was about to take 1 foot forward to step on the grass to follow him, I heard my mom's voice to my left, loud and clear as day, calling my name, Maggie. I turned around and said, "What?" No one was there. No one was behind me. I turned back, facing forward. That man was gone too. No trace of him. I was alone. I felt a deep chill inside and immediately hopped on my bike and ride home as fast as I can. When I got home, my mom was cooking. She never left the house, and I never saw that man again. I truly believe that thing was not human. I believed I was charmed somehow, lured out from my house on purpose. That was not a ghost or spirit. There are some entities in this world that can't be understood or explained. I hope I never run into that again. Decades later, I met with a psychic medium who told me there is a guardian spirit protecting me, an older woman, but I don't think it's my late great-grandma. Not sure how much of that is true, but something snapped me out of it to save me, and I'm forever grateful for it.
If you've enjoyed this video, check out more of my videos by clicking the channel icon or the next video shown. Trust me, your scare factor will be satisfied.